Welcome back to the Chasing Tone podcast, everyone. Today we talk about the TS9, the TS808, and the Nutube version of the Tubescreamer. Talk about all the details of it, the differences, the price differences, and why that is. And let's jump right into it right now.
The mics are hot, and so are we.
Well, it's actually not very hot here. It's -6 today. But actually, it might be a little warmer. It might be like 2 degrees Fahrenheit today.
I was talking about our level of physical attractiveness, but okay. Fine.
The two go hand in hand here.
Oh, really? That's interesting. Anyway, I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Everybody's got their thing, man.
That's true. That's true. And they can just keep it to themselves. Oh, boy. I'm turning into an old man. Everything's snap, crackling, popping as I move around. Is that a sign?
That's a sign that you are indeed getting older.
Great.
Time for more yoga, less squats.
I don't like the sound of that. Yoga's too hard.
I know. But it's necessary for us old farts.
I believe
Gotta do the yoga.
Yep.
Gotta do the yoga.
Yep. I'm going to have to start hitting up that yogurt a little more often.
So speaking of yoga.
Tell me more.
I'm sure you've seen the Nutube, not YouTube, Nutube, N-U-T-U-B-E, Tubescreamers, right?
Yeah, speaking of yoga, I certainly have. I did. I actually wanted to talk to you about that. I kind of did a little bit of research, but purposely didn't do too much because I thought that'll be a good topic for Brian to educate me on said Chasing Tone podcast.
And I'm still learning a bit about it myself. I mean, from what... excuse me.
You're allergic to them, I guess.
It's real dry today, so my throat's scratchy.
Eee.
From what I have learned, from what I can tell about the Nutube stuff, it is, I guess it technically does work kind of like a vacuum tube.
Right, and as far as I can tell, it is indeed in a vacuum, I think.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The difference and the main difference, from what I can tell, now here again, I don't have one, I'm just reading literature and what others have written about it.
Mm-hmm.
So like a 12AX7 generally has a gain of 100, okay? So I'm not going to go too far in what that actually means because I hate math and it involves math.
Okay.
The Nutube has a gain of 5.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right. So in other words, it really doesn't create that much gain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, if you're using a 12AX7 in a guitar amp, more often than not, you're using it for some gain.
Right,
you know?
right.
The idea is to kind of get more signal, louder signal, up to a point where it starts clipping.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It starts distorting. If your device can't do that, then what's the point of it?
Is it one of those things... Now, I know I'm really getting out of my zone here of what I'm qualified to speak of, but I guess that's not any different than normal. So could you, in theory... Now, I know that's a big, big difference, but I see that they're used in those Vox amps.
Mm-hmm.
Are they using a whole bunch of them cascading in order to get the gain up to where what we would expect it to sound like? It sounds like I've not played any of these things, but I've heard. Yeah, I heard the Vox ones are decent.
I don't know. I've heard a lot of good things about it. I've heard they sound really great.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't played any myself, so I just simply don't know schematically what's going on there. But. Yeah, I'm looking at some literature right now and just some different schematics. I don't know. I think you can put them in a situation called a mu amp.
Okay.
Just a type of configuration to get gain out of it. And I think you can get some more, maybe, looks like, I think if I'm reading this right, a gain of 18.
Huh. That's still...
I think I'm reading that right.
Per tube? Or Nutube?
Per section.
Per
Let's call it
section.
per section.
Okay.
Yeah. So a mu amp would be basically two gain circuits, which in a 12AX7 there's two gain circuits. Okay.
Okay. All right.
So, I mean, I don't want to say per tube, but per what most would call per tube stage, quote unquote.
Okay. I got you. I'm following you.
So I think if I'm reading that right, this is a very technical page I'm looking at with lots of math.
Ooh, gross.
Lots and lots of math. I mean, it's like, X1, 2, 3 triode mu equals 18.1, EX equals 4.8080. Lots of words and numbers. Right.
So sorry.
Numbers, stuffs.
I'm glad there's smart people in this world who know and can enjoy that kind of stuff. So I can play with the toys they create because I'm too dumb for that.
It's not me. That's when I'm lucky to like call up Bruce Egnator or someone and be like, "Hey, Bruce, if you're going to dumb this down to like a third grader, how would you explain this?" And he explains it to me like, "I get it now. Okay." Why did they just explain it that way to begin with?
Oh, it's to keep people like you and I out.
It is to keep us out of the club, man. You still use the calculator on your iPhone? I'm sorry, you can't be in the club.
I sure do on a daily basis. Like, there's 1, 2 times 16. What? I don't know. Numbers are hard. They're hard for me. But I am interested in the Nutube stuff. I think obviously they put a lot of muscle into creating it. They obviously didn't just do it for the Tubescreamer. I think Korg's got like all kinds of these preamp things. Some people are really excited about it for studio applications. I think it could potentially be really cool. I just don't know, like with the gain being so low, if it's gonna work the way we would intend in a normal guitar application. Right.
The only way I could see it making a big difference, I mean, you can run a sound, a signal through a tube stage that like minimum gain, right? So basically unity gain.
Of course.
And it will warm it up some, just due to the inefficiencies of the YouTube. Due to the inefficiencies of the tube stage itself.
Right.
So maybe they're using it like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think Radial did that on their Tone Bone series.
Mm-hmm.
They either did that or they used them as clipping diodes. You can use them as a clipping diode too. So, but in the way that the diodes are situated in like the op amp of a Tubescreamer,
yeah,
I don't think you can use them that way. I've never heard or seen anyone of using a tube that way, so I don't think the diodes would work like that. I think they have to go to ground or to a voltage reference. So I don't. The only thing I can think of is they're just warming up the signal a little bit and raising the price a bunch.
It appears that way, and I don't know if the Nutube technology itself. I don't know how expensive that is to produce. If that is like just what they got to get, or if they just did it to do it, I don't know.
Right.
But we're talking about the Tubescreamer, of course. There's a lot of other applications they have it in, but the Nutube Tubescreamer.
I mean, the actual application of it, if I had to guess, they developed this technology, which isn't cheap. I mean, this wasn't something you pay someone, a couple grand and they come up with this new technology.
No.
They've spent some money on this. So who knows what else it could be, applied to. I don't know. Maybe we're going to start seeing these in computers and phones.
Yeah.
I've got a tube-based phone. I mean, sounds awesome. Sounds great.
That's the most hipster Portland thing I've ever heard. My iPhone is tube-based.
Yeah, it weighs 55 pounds, but man, listen to the sound.
Listen to the tone.
Listen to the tone of this YouTube video it's playing.
But, yeah, it's funny that you said we don't really know how they're using the tube in the Nutube Tubescreamer. Like we don't know what it's actually doing in there. And I put the question out on Instagram, and I didn't really get any good answers. At least not as of yet. I should go back and read through the comments and see. But I put it out there. I said, okay, I get that they got this new vacuum tube type technology, and they've used it in this guitar pedal. What is it doing? Is it a buffer?
Right.
Is it clipping? Is it amplifying gain? Like, what is it doing? And nobody really seemed to know. Some people said they're just lighting it up to make it look cool, and I'm like, I doubt that. In this,
I don't think they're lighting up this. I mean, it's not like a big glass tube. It's basically a circuit, you know.
Yeah, they're like lighting up the little window that says Nutube on the pedal.
Oh, gotcha. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you're going to develop a technology, you're going to make it look cool, you know.
Of course.
So, I mean, there's no reason for them not to, I guess. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, I doubt they're like doing the trick of putting an LED behind it to make it look like it's glowing or something that people used to do back in 2005, 6, 4, somewhere near there.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think that that they're going to go through all that headache of making this new device and implementing it in a guitar pedal in 2018. Yeah, 10 years ago maybe. In 2018, I don't think they're going to, especially Ibanez, go through all that trouble and have it just light up.
Right.
Like, it's going to do something.
Like, let's see. The source impedance is 300,000 ohms. That's not much. So, okay. So I'm just sorry, reading through some information on it as we talk about it. So,
right.
So I'm not completely uneducated and just throwing my uneducated opinion out into the podcasting world. Well, I guess I kind of am. So
I was like, yeah, we sort of are doing that. We don't really know. We only kind of know.
On second thought, yeah, I really kind of am doing that. Okay, so but if you're taking like let's say we're just talking tubes, it's going to be a lot harder making tube stages sound like a tube screamer. Right. I mean, you can kind of get close to there, but we're talking multiple gain stages, and it's not going to react the same way as a op amp that you're turning the gain up on between the input pins and or the input and output pins. Anyways, it's not going to react the same as op amps. I mean, you can EQ it so it's mid-range honky around 723 hertz, that sort of thing, but it's just not going to be. It's not going to be the same. I bet it probably would be cooler, actually. So I guess I say that to say, if this is multiple gain staged tube screamery stuff, I'm all in, man. Sign me up. In fact, I can't wait to actually get one of these so I can pull it apart.
That'll be interesting. I would love to hear what you find when you do that. I just want to try one, just because they're super hyped. And you know what? I do like, regardless of what the Nutube's doing, I like that they put that little clean blend on there, because like the Tubescreamer kind of does that anyway, but it's interesting that they allowed you to control that. Well,
I mean, I wonder if they're doing it like the Sparkle Drive. So the Sparkle Drive is basically a Tubescreamer with a clean blend.
Yes.
Okay. Which is basically the same thing, like our hot wired pedal, the right channel, basically a Tubescreamer with a clean blend. So what that means is you can go all the way clean to no clean and just the distorted signal.
Yes.
But with that type of circuit, just in the way it works, and especially if you're using a guitar with a little bit hotter output, anything more than a single coil, basically, you're gonna hear more and more of that clean signal.
Oh, okay.
So, and you can clip it asymmetrically, so you can change the diodes a little bit and get rid of some of it. I guess it clips a little bit more. Or it's not as apparent, probably because of the different harmonics, but you're still going to hear it that way just because of the type of clipping, the soft clipping that it's doing.
Okay.
So, I don't know. I don't know if that knob is going to actually control that or not. I'm not real sure how you would do that unless you're clipping somewhere else, and it would be you would have to do a lot of circuit work, which I doubt they're going to do to the Tubescreamer.
Maybe they had to use the Nutube, and they decided let's add this feature. And I mean, it seems like I'm sure that, like, this is pure speculation, but I'm sure they didn't just throw a Nutube into the Tubescreamer. I'm sure they had to completely revamp the circuit. Wouldn't you think?
I would hope.
So
I would hope, but I am a bit jaded. So for what? 18 now. So 17 years, I think, 16 years maybe. So for 16 years looking at pedals, there's been a lot of times where I had hoped one thing was true and it ended up being completely not true. So, I hope it is something other than just a device in there for the sake of marketing.
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I hope so too. Especially with like I said, Korg, has got those Vox amps, and I've seen that they've got, like I said, some preamps and some various other things. I'll be really, really interested to swing by them at NAMM and see what all they have going on with the Nutube stuff, because I'd love to see some, like I said, studio gear based on this thing. I think that could be really cool.
Do you think they'd say anything if I came by with a screwdriver and just started unscrewing the back of it? What are you doing? Oh, I'm just taking it apart. I'll put it right back together, I swear.
I've done this a million times, trust me. I've been looking at pedals for 16 years.
Why do you have a soldering iron with you? It'll be fine, I promise.
Yeah, don't worry. I've done this.
I'm a professional.
I'm an industry professional.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So,
but hey, I guess I wasn't even thinking about NAMM being so close. Like I was thinking, I have to go to Guitar Center and try one of these things out. Like, oh, actually, NAMM's coming up. I'll just try one then.
Yeah. Yep, right around the corner from now, which is about 2 weeks from the time this podcast airs. So
I'm really excited. I'm always excited about NAMM, but like for some reason I'm extra excited this year. I don't know. I don't have any reason to be extra excited because it's always cool. But
yeah, I don't know. Me personally, I mean, NAMM is always fun because I get to actually see, talk, shake hands with people that use our stuff, right? Rather than reading a name on a Facebook group or a forum or something.
I thought you were going to say me, but never mind.
Well, that is the downside. We'll make it through that.
Oh, ouch. Yeah, I'm usually not. I don't smell that great. So,
so
it's worth noting, and I know people know we do this remote, but it's really hilarious to a lot of people, like my dad and my wife, like all these people I know via the podcast, especially like you, where we talk all the time. And it's like, how many times have you actually met? Twice. like we've met in person twice for, an hour a piece.
That's true. But you know what? And this actually kind of messed with my head for a little bit, especially since we've been doing the podcast. I think it's, and I'm guilty of this too, so I don't mean this in a negative way, but when a person listens to a podcast every time, or, we've talked about Joe Rogan, for example. So I feel like I know Joe Rogan pretty well.
Right.
Because I listen to his podcast all the time. Where if I go up to meet him, I'll know a lot about things he's gone through, history, how he talks, like all these things where I would feel like I know him and he has no clue who I am.
Right.
So I remember that was a little bit hard to get used to for me first starting the podcast, and people would come up and talk about stuff. And I'm like, how did they know that? I must have mentioned that on the podcast at some point.
Right. Well, I will say the having the kind of close-knit community that we have around the various gear podcasts definitely helps with that. Because it's like, okay, I do know, I kind of know this guy. Like, even though we've never talked, I get what kind of dude he is, just, I'm not talking about anybody specific, just, we've digitally interacted enough that, I feel like I know them a little bit when I do meet them in person. And I think that's kind of, it's probably not totally unique. Lots of podcasts have communities around them, but ours just very tight-knit, and I think that's kind of nice, so. It is.
It's not anything like a lot of other podcasting niches, I think, like the fitness industry, there's a lot of fitness podcasts, and I don't see those guys hanging out too much.
Not really. It doesn't.
Some, but
yeah, some of them, but
not like like at NAMM we have a big, Earthquaker puts on a big party, and basically everybody who is into pedals goes. It seems like, anyways, because it's always packed.
Yeah.
All the podcasters and all the YouTube guys and all the different companies, and
reps, dealers,
and me.
like, yeah,
right.
It's just, and I get first in line at the food, and I eat all the food, and then everyone's mad at me. It's basically what happens. So,
yeah, I don't have that problem.
I'm like, there it is. Sliding in there, give me the sliders, give me the pizza, give me the hot dog. All right, yep, I'm loading this up. And everybody's like, well, Blake ate everything again. So that's nice.
Well, to kind of get back a little bit, on the new tube transformer, on the new, on the new tube, Tubescreamer.
Yeah,
my goodness, that is
a
hard for me to say. The new Tubescreamer, I think the U.S. price is like $250, right? Okay. And I was thinking about this today. The TS-808 is like $180, or somewhere near there, I think. And then the TS9 is $99. And I was thinking, like, because the question was coming up, like, why is this? If this is a modified TS9, is this $150? I mean, is it worth $150 more for this new tube? And
right. We don't know yet, do we?
Yeah, we don't know that. So I was thinking, well, we already pay $80 more for a TS9 with two different resistors and a different op amp. Which,
and
parts-wise...
a different button.
And a different, on and off button. So, that's less than $1 in parts when you're buying them in mass, in bulk. So... this comes to market supply. If people are buying the new tube at $250, then it's completely worth it. In fact, they may raise it to $299. And the opposite's true too. If no one buys it, this may be the $129 Tubescreamer.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, I didn't know because I don't know anything about anything. I didn't realize until recently, between you and another couple dudes informing me. That the TS9 and TS808, the new ones, are basically the same circuit board with, like you said, two resistors and the chip changed. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought I knew they were the same basic circuit, but I thought they were more different than that.
Well, they did a 35th anniversary, like I think the narrow box version or something like that. And one of the versions, there's been a bunch of versions of TS808s. Let me see if I can find the page here.
And then there's the hand-wired version.
Yeah, this is just a production version. I'm looking at Analog Man's website, and he lists 46 different versions, and I don't know when this was written. So I guess I say that to say, like, on the 35th anniversary version, they're using two op amps. One of the op amps basically being buffers instead of transistor buffers. So that's a little different. That's a little different than the regular circuit. But from the TS-808s that I've seen, the circuit boards are the same. It's pretty much the same thing minus a couple parts.
Huh. And that's $100 almost more, right?
I think they're $180. Let me see. Let me just buy one real quick from Sweetwater.
Yeah, just
this podcast brought to you by Sweetwater Music and Sound.
Is it really? Wow, that's great.
No, it's not. But I'm open. I'm open to.
I'm
open to advertising opportunities. Yeah, $180.
$180. Okay.
$180 US dollars. So.
Just saying, Sweetwater. Heard of a couple guys recently. They got their order in. They were very pleased, but they didn't get any Bitto honey, and so that made them quite upset.
Really?
Yeah, Bitto honey.
Huh. I wonder how that works. Because so for anyone that's not familiar with it, when you buy from Sweetwater, they put candy with the whatever you're buying. And so I know some people have got like a bunch of Bitto honey, which is a type of candy. And like you said, some people get none. So I'm not sure if they just grab a handful and sometimes there's a bunch and sometimes there's not, or whether there's actually someone there's like, there's one bit of honey, there's one Tootsie Roll, there's, one piece of gum.
I don't know. I know everyone pretty much looks for the bit of honey, as far as I know. Everyone's like, where's a bit of honey? And so that's led to, Leon over at Pelican Noiseworks, he only sends Bit Honey in his pedals.
I was just going to say, so I'm waiting for someone to do nothing but send Bit Honey.
That's all he does. He just, every pedal, it's all Bit Honey. At least it was here not too long ago. I think he's still doing that. He just sends Bit Honey.
Does he send a toothbrush and some toothpaste to wash away the cavities after that?
Well, man, you need like a power washer after Bit Honey. It just gets in there. It's so good, though, because the flavor just lasts.
You taste it for like days afterwards. You have to sandblast it off your teeth.
Yeah. Go to your local body shop and have them get in there. So yeah. Anyway, it is interesting to note though about between people get crazy about the TS9 versus TS808. They still do. Like you'd think this day and age information would be a little bit more out there than it is. But yeah, they're not dramatically different. They're not. The information's there. I mean, I did a video, I think about a month ago on YouTube. Not Nutube. On YouTube. Mm-hmm. I did a video where I had built the TS808, the 808 and the TS9 circuits separated by a switch. So I flipped the switch down one way, it's TS9. Flipped the switch the other way, it's TS808. Mm-hmm. And so the whole video, I was just playing a few things. I didn't tell anybody which one was which, just flip back and forth. Right. Then at the end, I'm like, okay, here's which, top was 808, bottom was TS9 or whatever on the switch position. Mm-hmm. And keep in mind, like I'm in the room next to the amp. I think on that video I had ran it through like a 2-notes captor and ran that out into my DAW. That way I could use IRs. Mm-hmm. Impulse responses, for cabinet simulation. Right. And so I was listening to like the unfiltered sound. Well, through the sound through the amp and then before it hits a speaker cabinet, right? Right. So what that basically means is I'm hearing a lot more high frequencies, tons and tons of highs and mids than what you would hear after it gets to the speaker. You can hear, I say that because you can hear more that way than you will after it gets filtered out from the speaker. The speaker's a filter. Mm-hmm. And there is a slight difference, a little bit of difference, but it's not a dramatic difference. It's really not at all. But some of the comments that people get mad about, it's like talking about politics. Some people were violently mad because I obviously have 10 ears. How can you not hear the dramatic difference after you run it into your DAW, to put it into a movie, compress that, upload to YouTube. YouTube compresses that, mm-hmm. and then you're listening on your little headphones in your iPod or iPhone, right? Right. And I'm like, no offense, guys, but I was sitting next to the amp. Mm-hmm. There's not that much of a difference, especially after hearing it without the speaker and all the high frequency content. There's not that much of a difference. There's just not. I can put a spectrum analyzer on it and see it. What do you know about it? So I mean, you don't know. You can't hear anything. If you can't hear it, you shouldn't be making pedals. There was comments like that, and I'm like, guys, it sounds like I'm talking about Trump's policies or something. We're talking about some basic circuit stuff. I mean, we're talking about circuits, electronic circuits, and math. Why are we arguing? No, it's magic. It's not math. We already talked about this. Yep, that's true. There's magic. There's nothing else but magic. It's all Gandalf. Oh my goodness. So yeah, it like you said, people get violently mad. Oh well, like I said, like we both said, people get very angry if not everyone, but some people, if you don't have the same beliefs they do about a circuit. Mm-hmm. And I think the 808 and the TS9, that's one of those hot button topics. A lot like clones, the old clone versus the, what's the surface mount version he did? The KTR. I want to say LTD, but that's Barber Electronics, I think. Mm-hmm. So that versus the KTR or versus the Tumnus or any of the other clones out there, mm-hmm. People get pretty defensive on stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, you'd think they were talking about pizza toppings. Well, because that's something to get passionate about. That is something that we could really go a long time on, and I don't think it's an appropriate topic for this podcast because I'm very passionate about my pizza toppings.
Well, when we do our Chasing Pizza podcast, then we could talk about that then.
That sounds really good. That sounds tasty right now.
You're thinking, oh, that's a business opportunity I hadn't thought of.
Chasing pizza.
Let me see if that's in chasingpizza.com. It's available, yes.
All right. Honestly, that would be a thing that I would do.
I can imagine.
I just go around to different pizza places and just review and eat their pizza and talk about it. Like, yeah.
I honestly would be surprised if no one has done that
I'm
yet.
sure it's been done. I'm sure of it. There was a guy who and I had to go try it just to see. But he spent like a whole year traveling the United States eating cheeseburgers to find the best cheeseburger in America.
That sounds like an amazing job.
It does.
I want that job.
No. And he said, in his opinion, and I kind of disagree with it, but he's much more experienced than I am. But he said the best burger was at a place called Stannich's here in Portland. Best burger in America.
Really?
So
the next year, did he go around trying all the different statins to get rid of the cholesterol?
This is the best statin.
This gets rid of all the cholesterol.
Don't get me started on statins. Then you want to talk about a topic that gets me all riled up. Anyway,
I would like to talk to you about that sometime because I have been researching. This is totally off topic from what we'd planned to talk about, but I've been researching statins because I'm on one and I hate it. Hate it with a passion. I want it to die a slow, miserable death. And so I'm trying to look up all the information. And you know how that is, especially with the pharmaceutical industry. There's a lot of conflicting information.
Oh, yeah. And I'm not an expert. I just I have prejudice feelings.
Play one on a podcast. I'm not an expert. I just play one on the statin podcast.
The statin podcast. There probably is one.
ChasingStatins.com. Brought to you by the ChasingCheeseburgers.com podcast.
But I wanted to give you my review of that cheeseburger real quick.
Yes, please do.
Pretty good, but I find it to hardly be the best burger in Portland, let alone America. So
you're saying there's better burgers in Portland itself?
Yeah.
Not even including other cities.
Exactly. Yeah.
There is no way this person went to every place that sells burgers in America.
They didn't.
There's no way.
They didn't, but they did hit up, like, he had a pretty good write-up. He went to several burger places in Portland. And I wonder if it was, like, the experience. This is totally what people tune into here. The experience, because the Stanich burger was his, I think his first burger, like, off the flight. And so, like, my mind is, he's super hungry, right? So anything's more delicious when you're super hungry.
Right.
And then because he tried some other ones that I've had that I consider to be better. And he said they were good, but he ranked them lower than that one. So I don't know. It's good. It's a good burger, but I don't know. I definitely can't say it's my favorite.
You would have to have bias because, I mean, think about this. Think about trying several different burgers per day. That first burger, especially if you're hungry, like you said, it's probably going to be pretty tasty. By that fourth or fifth burger, you're probably like, it's all right. It's edible. But if you flip that order, maybe it's not the same, you know?
Yeah, I think the real scientific way to do it is you'd have to only have one burger per day and try to recreate the scenario as much as you can.
You'd have to.
Like, just to be as scientific as possible about this very subjective topic.
Almost like comparing TS9s and TS808s.
Yes.
You got to listen to the TS9 one day, listen to the TS808 the next day. No, that doesn't work.
No, you got to do side by side on that one.
Yeah, but then by then your ears have already fatigued just a little bit. They fatigued from playing that first TS9.
Well, the real way to do it would be a double-blind, peer-reviewed study. That's the only way to really get to the bottom of this.
You can find that study on pubmed.edu.
Of course.
I'm sure someone spent millions of dollars for that study.
I know.
Have. I spent $99 on a brand new TS9 for it myself. So
this has been exhaustively researched.
Yeah,
by all the industry leading individuals.
Oh, absolutely, man. All right, so we've talked about the Nutubes and how we have no idea how it works, if it's a legit thing as far as quote unquote tube tone, or whether it's a great little device to make a pedal for $250. We don't know.
I'm excited about it, though. I will say
I'm
that.
excited as well.
So.
I can't wait to take one apart at NAMM. And then we've also talked about the handful of changes between the 808s and the TS9s. I'm sure in the process we've made several people angry. Several people yelling at their phones right now.
Now!
This guy's got 10 ears. Mom, these guys are idiots.
I mean, they're not wrong in that regard. We are, but
I'm not saying you're wrong.
Anyway, what else did we? And we talked about cheeseburgers, and
we talked about the best cheeseburger in America, which you happen to live next to, and you don't take advantage of that on a daily basis.
No, I don't.
And we talked about your new business, chasingpizza.com.
This has been very, very informative for everyone. Actually, we did pretty good for the first half. I think. I feel confident in our broadcast.
It's a good solid C minus.
Yeah, it's a good solid C minus overall. But I mean, the first part was I'd give it a B, and for us it was a great 10-15 minutes where we actually talked about the topic at hand.
That's true.
This is unheard of. So.
Well, until next week, join us next week whenever we have new talks about our favorite burger places and new talks about our favorite pizza places from chasingpizza.com.
Yes.
All right, Blake.
Later, Hosen.
Until next week, thank you so much for listening to the Chasing Tone podcast. I really appreciate it. If you have any comments or questions, you can always reach me at podcast@wamplerpedals.com. If you haven't left a review on iTunes, I'd really appreciate that. Just head on over to iTunes, look for the Chasing Tone podcast, leave a review, and we will talk to you next week. Oh, one last thing. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, make sure you email them to me. You can also, if you would like to, you can call the office number, 765-352-8626. You can just leave a message there. That gets put on like an audio file that we could then use on the podcast, so feel free to do that as well. And thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week.